Last time on Born to Puck! Born to Puck!
Ding, 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 ding. That's the winner
Ladies
right
and
there.
gentlemen, welcome to Matt Riegler Jacob Born's
What
podcast
up?
called.
I think that's got to be the winner right there. That's definitely it.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Born to Puck. This is a podcast collaboration between everybody's favorite Jew, Matt Riegler, everybody's favorite St. Louis native, Jacob Born. Now, Jake, let's talk about how we did this, how we came together. Now, I believe it was one sunny afternoon. Um, I put out a tweet desperately calling for a podcast partner, and about how many milliseconds later were you responding?
I think it might have been maybe 2 minutes after that, but it was very, very close.
Because to me, seemed like nanoseconds. Now, I haven't asked you this prior, but what in God's name made you want to team up with me?
Um, I don't even know. I just know that I love talking puck and I love talking about hockey, and anybody who does the same we can easily have a conversation with. So making a podcast with you seemed pretty damn simple to me.
Aw, that's the nicest compliment I've gotten all year.
Good. And it only came 6 days before that ended.
Hey, listen, better late than never.
Better never late.
Well, maybe I should be a better son or sibling. Right.
No, you're fine.
Ah, thank God. All right, so what was the best hockey gift you've gotten so far this year?
Um, well, I'm gonna go with the tangible one first, at least.
Hmm.
I had no idea this was coming, but I got a white U.S. Olympic jersey that they're going to be wearing in 2014 for Sochi.
What?
Yes, and the story behind it is actually pretty cool. Uh, my parents were at a Nike uh sale at the high school like 2 minutes away, and my dad was just cruising around, and then he saw the Olympic jerseys were half off.
What?
Yes, so the brand new ones that they're going to be wearing in Sochi were half off at a high school, maybe 5 minutes away, and so my parents decided that they thought I would like it, and then so they bought it, and they were 100% correct.
That's awesome. But please do me a favor.
Yes.
Check the made in tag because it sounds like it was either made in America or Japan or Korea. It just doesn't sound like it was made in China. Therefore, they didn't have to pay full value.
It might have been. I don't know. It's hanging on my door right now. Uh, and I definitely think it looked like it was made in China. It did not look like it was made in China. It looked like it was made in Portland. I think that no, yeah, I think that's where the Nike outlets are.
Portland,
Yeah,
Oregon, or
that's what I'm gonna say.
Portland?
I'm gonna say it was made in Portland because it looked U.S. made. Better be U.S. made.
Better be U.S. made. I mean, it has our fucking name on it, right?
And our flag, well, our stars at least, and land of the free, home of the brave. I don't think we want China putting that on there.
I'm gonna look this up real quick. Hockey, Sochi, USA. That is not grammatically correct, but Google will
Yeah,
figure it out.
you don't need to be grammatically correct on Google. It knows what you mean.
No, you don't. Now, I hadn't considered what the white one looked like. That's the one you got, right?
Yeah, that's the one I got. It's got the
So,
blue on the top with a single red stripe, probably, I don't know, like right in the mid chest area, and then it's white the rest of the way down, and then has the USA shield right in the middle of the jersey.
dude, that is such a slick jersey. Oh my gosh.
I think it's the second best jersey that Nike came out with for the Olympics.
Well, before I ask you which one you thought was the best, how
Yeah.
many stars are on those shoulders?
50, hopefully, maybe.
Hopefully, I'm gonna just count the Google image real quick. There's 1, 2, 3,
Does
4,
it take
5, 6, 7,
account
8,
the front
9,
and back?
10 on our left, on the viewer left, and then that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it looks like there's 10 on each side.
So it'll be 40.
I guess so. I mean, I'm only seeing the front.
That's fine. There are probably 10 states that don't have hockey in it, like
That's
Alabama,
true. Alabama.
Alabama, or Mississippi or something like that.
I wonder if Wyoming has hockey.
Yeah, University of Wyoming has hockey.
Wow.
Yeah, the only reason why I know that is because Marquette played it this year.
Your cat?
No, Marquette. Sorry, the school I go to, Marquette. Their club hockey team played them.
What I heard was much more interesting. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, my cat might have played them, but I think they would have gotten, I don't know, sliced in half via the blades or something like that.
I will have you know that my cat, looking all cute and shit, begging for more water, she decided to hop on my bed and go to sleep as soon as we started talking about Marquette, my cat. So, which, Jacob Born, is
Yes.
your favorite 2014 Sochi Olympic jerseys?
That's easy. It's Slovakia's.
Oh, is that the one with the lyrics to their song on it?
Yeah, their national anthem is
Yeah.
printed in stripe form on their jerseys, and it is so cool.
Oh, doctor, that is cool. I am disappointed that it has the same design as the American version, but I accept the extreme difference in the nuances where
Yes.
we merely have stars on our shoulders and they
Sorry.
have their lyrics across their chest.
That is, yeah, that's awesome. I feel like that should be a standard almost for the rest. Somewhere the uh, the national anthem should be there. Or what I think would also be really cool is if uh, if countries, instead of putting the names on the back, put like their country name on the back. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Like, so instead of having, like, for example, the U.S. have Bacchus or Quick, it just says United States above their number.
Or it just says the state which they're from.
Yeah, that would be kind of cool.
um, Now, I agree with you that every country at some point should have the lyrics to their national anthem on their chest at some point in some iteration of their international jersey. That is such a cool idea. I can't. It's one of those ideas that you also can't believe wasn't done sooner.
Yeah, exactly. At least in some way, shape, or form.
Word. Now, what I find interesting about countries like Slovakia, and since it's in front of me on Google, the Czech Republic, is the symbols that we see in front of us, in particular for Slovakia. What that logo is, what they call their coat of arms. Now, if we take that three-word sentence literally, it doesn't
Co-
belong on the chest. It belongs on the sleeve.
yeah, up on the top and the shoulder area.
Or on the bicep because they're manly men like that.
The bicep, but then, I don't know. I think that just look weird with the numbers because the numbers are at the elbows. Or
But
the numbers go up, or the numbers go up in the bicep.
Finland has Swami on the right bicep. Um, if you look at Finland real quick, their white jersey is just a white canvas with their blue, for lack of a better way of putting it, their blue cross, justified viewer left, wearer right. You got the check mark sort of like above where the right nipple would be, and then you have Swami on the right bicep, and again their symbol, their coat of arms, it's over their heart, which is equally in my mind equally appropriate. But their blue jersey, it's the coat of arms with Swami over the top, right on the center of the chest, and there's nothing wrong with that. I just I think it would be interesting to see people play with the design of a coat of arms actually being on the arm.
Yeah, but with the Finland jerseys, there aren't the numbers aren't on the sleeves, which was what I was saying is it'd look weird if you decided to keep both the numbers and that on there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I missed that part. But there's nowhere. It doesn't appear to be anywhere for the numbers.
Right, exactly. But yeah, that's an interesting. I think it'd be an interesting idea that definitely Nike would be the one to do, not necessarily any or like Reebok or something like that.
Now, does your American jersey, does it have the gold disc with 1960 and 1980 in it?
Yeah, yes, it does. It's on the right hand. It's on the right sleeve on the inside.
And does it say "Land of the Free, Home of the Brave"?
Yes, it does. And behind the neck, on the inside of the jersey, it does say "Land of the Free, Home of the Brave."
Oh, that's an interesting placement. So if they were to pull out the collar of their jersey, like to let some steam out, they could look down and see those two lines.
Well, it's behind the neck, so it's not like in
Oh,
front.
okay.
It's in the back. So like the only way you're seeing it is when you're looking at it, getting ready to put it on.
Oh, okay. Well, that's equally interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of like what how Nashville has the keys on the inside of their neck, or Calgary put something in there. I think.
I believe that you're right.
I
I
think Dallas did too.
Now let's stay on the Olympic theme. Puck Daddy came out with his and his cohort's predictions for the American roster. And I'm going to stick with Nick Costanica, who's officially a Yahoo Sports NHL writer and not under the Puck Daddy heading.
Hmm.
Uh, I'm going to stick with his particular roster because I think that it's overall representative of about what we're going to see over in Sochi. So he has his first line is Kessler between Kane and Parise, Pavelski between Kessler and Riemsdyk, Backus between Ryan and Brown, Stastny between Oshie and Pacioretty, with Stepan and Callahan on reserve. And
Okay.
then from first pair on down, Suter and Shattenkirk, McDonough and Martin, Yandel and Orpik, Fowler and Carlson, John Carlson to be specific, with Quick, Miller, and Schneider. Before I ask you what you think, I will tell you what I think. That the American roster right now is rife with people who are having underwhelming seasons and have sustained injuries. Quick examples would include Dustin Brown, who is having an underwhelming season, Zach Parise and Ryan Callahan, who are injured. Derek Stepan is also having an underwhelming season. Paul Martin is injured. When you start talking, I will look up what his injury timetable is.
Mhm.
Brooks Orpik came off IR today, but it was a concussion, and everybody reacts differently. And finally, Quick. Quick is still injured. Now he's supposed to come off sometime in the next week or so, but he was having an underwhelming season as well. Corey Schneider is on the Devils, and I think that's why he's having an underwhelming season.
Mhm.
So what we're looking at is, I don't think, the official roster. So I think that guys like Callahan and I believe Martin is going to be out for a while. So I'm going to talk like he's going to be. Callahan is having an underwhelming season. He's been injured since the summer. So I don't think either one of them, unfortunately, are going to be there. I think a guy like Justin Falk is going to be there because he adds a offensive dynamic a la Paul Martin. And I think that Jason Pominville is going to be there. In particular, if Ryan Callahan isn't, because they're both right-handed shots. Pominville is it. Well, he's like a cousin in terms of playing style to Callahan. Callahan is more of a rugged, in the corners, in the trenches type player, and that Pominville, while perfectly capable of doing that, prefers to stay a little bit further out from the periphery and be more of a sniper. But they're both players who are dynamic in their skill sets, as well as you can juggle them in and out, not in and out, I mean up and down the lineup. So I think that those are going to be the two most noteworthy changes to the roster. Parise will be there wearing a letter if he's healthy and won't be if he's not. It's as simple as that. What do you think, my good friend?
Yeah, this is. I remember. I can't remember where I read it, but there was a. I think it might have been on USA Hockey. There was a projection of the Olympic roster, and I feel like they're pretty much the same. I feel like pretty much every Olympic projection this year has kind of gone the same way. But one guy that I think is that's just weird that's missing is Jack Johnson. I mean, I know that he's having another underwhelming year uh, for the Jackets, but I feel like he's one of those guys that could be that fourth line, could be a part of the fourth line defenseman guys that might need to step up if guys like Brooks Orpik and Paul Martin aren't able to make it. Um, and then up front, I I definitely don't. I don't think Ryan Callahan or Derek Stepan are going to end up being on the team, whether just because of injury or if they're just not going to be ready to play in Sochi. Um, I feel like Parise will be there, and I feel like he'll be one of those letters. I think that in terms of letters, um, I think either Suter, Parise, or Backus could get the C, um, and then the A's go to the other people. Um, but yeah, I feel like that the Olympic team is going to be. Oh, I think it's going to be a lot younger than people think it's going to be. And I think that uh, Ryan Miller is actually going to get the start over Quick. I don't think Quick will be there. Well, he might be there. I think he might just be that third string guy again, or maybe the backup depending on how healthy he is. And I feel like that the of Miller, Quick, and Schneider are going to be the three that we end up bringing over to Russia.
I think Bishop is going to end up being somewhere in the trio. I think that he's been playing too well not to be there. Unfortunately, as much as I am a believer in Jimmy Howard, and I have him, I picked him up in the IceHL. I'm basically just trying to trade him or Quick or Niemi for the best package I can get.
Okay.
The Detroit's just been injured all year, and he's established himself as a quality goaltender, so I should be able to get something.
Mm.
Anyway, but being that as it may, we have other goalies who are playing better, and in a once every 4 year tournament, having a guy who's playing well is just every bit as important as having a guy who's established himself. So I think that Ryan Miller is going to be our starter, and I'm not upset about that at all. He's playing really well despite, actually not in comparison. I'm sorry, I'm losing my grammar. He's playing well in spite of the team that he's on. In
Oh, I
26
100% agree.
games, thank you. In 26 games, he has a 276 goals against and a 924 save percentage. He is first or second in shots against so far this season.
Yeah, I think a lot of people put weight on how the Buffalo Sabres are doing, and they fail to realize how good Ryan Miller is being, and that he's going to be if he has enough talent up front, then he'll be able to keep out a lot of goals that he might let in because he's not getting any help whatsoever defensively in Buffalo. So I definitely think he'll be another one because I mean in 2010 he was great. It was just Canada just got the bounces in the title game or the gold medal game, I should say.
Well, I don't know about that. We got a pretty sweet bounce for Parise to tie it to send it into overtime.
Yeah, yeah. I mean that's true. We did, but I just think that it was one of those games where it was Miller and was it Luongo that was in net for
Yep.
Canada? Yeah, I feel like they were just pretty much dueling each other, and it was just whichever team got that one bounce that was going to let them go in, that was going to let it go in or advance to play in anyway is the team that was going to win, and I think it was 2-1 uh, Canada, whether it be because of off a goal or just a bounce in the middle of the ice that led to one.
I agree with you. It's as simple as putting that. For perspective, I pulled up the stats for the goalie stats, and Mike Smith leads the league in most saves at 914 in 31 starts. Ryan Miller is number two at 860 in 26 starts.
Okay. So
Andre
they're
Pat,
probably they're on the same pace. It seems like.
yeah, they're on a similar pace. Ryan Miller has a 924 and Smith has a 914 save percentage. Um, Smith has given up 86 goals and Miller has given up 71. In
Yeah.
the, I mean, Just listen to these names in terms of saves. So in descending order, Smith, Miller, Andre Pavlik at 854, Carey Price at 844, Kerry Lettinen at 796. He's tied with Braden Holtby. And then we get to Tuukka Rask at 787, who has an astounding 936 save percentage. He's only allowed 54 goals this year.
Yeah,
Everyone
Tuukka's
else,
been great.
and his team might only win a game or two in the round robin. But that's offensive reasons. That's not Tuukka Rask reasons.
Right.
Uh, I I don't see it. I don't see. So then we got Varlamov, Luongo, Niemi, Bernier, Fleury, Mason, and then Bishop. We have to go down quite a ways just to get to the next American in terms of shots against or
Right.
saves for rather. And the reason why I'm making such a big deal out of that is that this season is another compressed schedule because of the Olympics, and we are seeing goalies being put to the test every week. And when you aren't in a rotation like Miller and like Bishop are not, they're gonna get the reps. These guys are sitting at 924, 935 save percentage respectively. Bishop is already at 20 wins, which is more than everyone else that I've mentioned so far in
Right.
28 starts. It's hard to it's hard to wrap your mind around bringing Jonathan Quick or bringing Jimmy Howard just because they have the name notoriety.
Yeah. I feel like Quick is easier to bring in though, just based off of him winning the Conn Smythe 2 years ago, and him being in the Vezina talks the past 3 years. And I believe he won the Vezina the same year he won the Cup. Correct?
I don't recall.
No, he didn't. No, Lundqvist did in the
Oh,
last year.
how do I forget my main man winning a Vezina?
I don't know because I don't know. I was because Bob won it last year. But uh, yeah, I feel like it's much easier to bring
Lying.
him in because of his accolades that he's gotten, more so than Jimmy Howard. Because I mean, at least this year, Jimmy Howard has not been playing well. Last couple of years, he's been a solid, probably top 10, maybe top 7 goaltender. But I feel like I've Jonathan Quick has been top 3 for the past 3-4 years, and I would love to see Ben Bishop, the St. Louis native, on the Olympic roster. That would be super cool.
That
Uh,
would be super cool.
but 20 wins at 28 starts is very impressive, and that should definitely get a look at. And he could even be the third goaltender because he's only 25 or 26. He's fairly young, so he could do the third string role this year, and then when they go to South Korea in 2018, he could be
Oh,
the
they're not
starter.
going to South Korea. They're not going to South Korea. We're gonna have the World Hockey Championship or whatever it is that they name it, and the NHL is gonna own and operate whatever the next wave of international tournaments are, and the NHL is done with the Olympics. There's just no way that they go.
You really think that it'll be amateurs again?
I don't think it'll be amateurs at all.
Who do you think it's going to send over? Who do you think the U.S. is going to send over then?
Oh shit! In my mind, I had just dismissed hockey from the Olympics. Well, well, they already have the World Junior Championship. I mean, it's going on this week. I don't
Yeah.
know who they'll send. Maybe they'll send nobody. Maybe it will just be the ladies.
No, no, they're gonna have to do men's hockey because think about all the Olympic or not all the Olympic. Think of all the European teams that are in the Olympics, and there's no way that the U.S. and Canada is gonna say, oh, we're not gonna send our pros over there, so we're just not gonna send anybody. No, they're gonna send over there and want to assert dominance because we need the ego boost, whether we want to like admit it or not. We like winning medals and knowing that. I mean, let's be honest. Canada and U.S. are pretty much nearly almost locked for at least one medal between the two of us, just based off of how much we play hockey and especially sending pros over. And so I definitely think we'll send over either college people and retain their amateur status, or we'll send over minor league hockey guys who aren't in the part of
We'll
consider to do
send over
well.
our C team.
Which we might do. I mean,
I
because I
don't
definitely
believe for
think
one second that any men's player who is associated with the NHL is going to be part of the South Korean games.
I
I know that that's a vaguely specific umbrella that I just launched or raised, but the NHL wants to start controlling as the NHL wants to start bringing in international revenue like they envisioned the Olympics was going to in the first place. When
yes,
the NHL agreed to send over the players, they thought it was going to do two very specific things, and either immediately or with little delay. It was going to grow the home base fan, but in particular, no, actually specifically the American fan.
mm,
Americans were going to see on a world stage exactly what they're capable of and who they're better than, as well as it was going to bring in lots and lots and lots of money. It was going to come from the Americans, the Canadians, and every European or Russian who wants to be associated with both the Olympics and the NHL. This didn't go quite according to plan. Americans don't want to get up at the ass crack of dawn to watch their boys play in Italy. It just doesn't resonate for whatever reason. And part of that has to do with the initial projection was that the fan base in America, while it has grown, it never became feverish. It
yes,
we know that in the same way for hockey, in the same way that um, many of the other Olympic sports in both summer and winter games don't really launch new players into its world outside of the initial 3 or 4 or 6 months after the games, in across all sports, whether that's soccer. Remember back in the late '90s, early 2000s, when they won the gold and the winning kicker. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting her name. I want to say Mia Hamm, but maybe it wasn't her. She scored and she ran over to the sideline. She took off her shirt and she's celebrating. All we see is this gorgeous woman celebrating her sports bra. That while that was an iconic moment, it didn't launch soccer, female, women's, men's, or otherwise, into the conscious mind of I want to go do that for years on end. It
I would
became
actually
more of a
disagree.
fad.
I would disagree at least on the soccer aspect, but I don't know. The first point I want to point out is that wasn't in the Olympics. That was in the World Cup
Oh,
when it
I
was hosted in
apologize.
LA. Um, and but yeah, I think that it did sort of launch soccer because I remember that's. I mean, granted, I'm not a girl, so I can't really comment on that aspect of it.
Can you
Um,
prove this?
well, one second, let me go look. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm a dude. Um, yeah, I think it definitely made more. I think it made women's soccer popular because I want to say the participation definitely increased right after that, and that was right around the same time that MLS was starting to get quote unquote big in the U.S., meaning that they finally got enough teams for two divisions, and what backyard soccer was coming out at right about the same time where they started featuring MLS teams and MLS players, and so I definitely think that it kind of coincided at the same time frame
Well,
of
look, what I'm
it.
saying, what I'm trying to express is that these sports never became feverishly attended to, both as an athlete and as a fan. They did gain momentum in the popularity of their sports. There's no question about that. But it never became big like baseball is, or basketball is, or even football is.
Mhm.
Soccer didn't even become as popular as hockey is. So what the NHL wants to do, just to close my portion of the point, is if they're not going to necessarily be able to grow the fan base through this particular medium in the way that they want to, which is immediate and feverish, they should at least be able to control the finances of it. And by the NHL removing themselves from the Olympics and removing themselves from the corrupt IOC, they're able to collaboratively create this NHL and hockey-centric tournament that will occur, however, every 2, 3, or 4 years, whatever they determine, and they would be able to control every penny that flows in and out. It is going to become a new revenue stream for the NHL. It and that's the most important part. Hockey is a healthy sport. It's a stable sport. It's not going anywhere. But the money isn't always so reliable. And I know that that could be conflicting statements, but if you can host the same international style tournament and also control all the money, why don't you?
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
that's why I don't believe that the NHL, maybe hockey will be, but the NHL will not be associated with any of the Olympics after Sochi.
Yeah, I think it also is going to depend on when the NHL decides to do it because I don't think they're going to want to I think they really don't like interrupting their season to
That's the other thing.
go over to the Olympics. So it's either going to be either before or after the NHL season starts. And I think that it's going to be I don't if it's after the Stanley Cup, players are going to hate it, especially players who are on the Stanley Cup team because they finally entered the off season. They're off for a month. Let's say a team doesn't make it. You're off for 2 months and then all of a sudden bam, you're skating again in 2 weeks to go play international competition. And they might not like it in the beginning because of the beginning of the season because they're just starting to get back into practice, but it would be kind of nice to get that extra level of game playing uh, before heading to training camp or instead of training camp.
Yeah, this is the same conversation that the World Baseball Classic is constantly having. The when is the right time, and the real answer is there is no ideal time.
Right.
Suffice to say that the year isn't long enough, and
It really
so
isn't.
which is a funny thing to say when you have 365 days to work with, but it is what it is. We're gonna find out together what they decide upon. My bold prediction at this premature time is going to be that it's going to be a biannual event, so every other year, and it will be hosted primarily within North American borders. It will occasionally go out to hockey hotbeds or hockey hotbeds in waiting. So Stockholm, Sweden, Helsinki, Finland are hockey hotbeds, and so they'll host, and hopefully the tournament takes off, then it will expand back out to an old hockey hotbed, which I'm sorry to say it's old, but it is,
Mhm.
like Prague, Czech Republic, where they're going to try to reinvigorate the hockey market.
Yeah, and I think like it could be a really useful tool for the NHL to figure out if a town is a quote unquote hockey town, i.e., they could put it in Quebec City and I mean, pretty much Quebec City is guaranteed to get a team most likely if they expand. Um, but it could be another one to like kind of test the market and just see how it is, or go to places like Seattle or Portland or Oklahoma City or Salt Lake City or frickin' Cincinnati. Some places where it might not necessarily be where there might not be an NHL team now, but they could see how the city reacts to having a big hockey event and seeing if they could sustain that throughout the year for a possible expansion team.
Uh, I think that sounds nice, and I mean, as an American, I would love to see it in America. Particularly if it's on the East Coast as a New Yorker. But I think that the only dynamics that you'll prove by doing that is you'll either be able to, excuse me, you'll either prove that it's a bad hockey market because nobody shows up, or that you will prove that it's a good hockey market for these temporary events when everybody shows. I don't
Uh,
think that having something in an area for 2 to 4 weeks proves long-term sustainability. I think that it proves either it's no good or it's good for short-term sustainability. I'm sorry, but I think it would be really interesting if it was like in Munich or if it was in London, two places that have um, don't necessarily have hockey love, but The people are white. The people are notoriously athletic.
Okay.
They're strong nations and strong cities that have the finances to support a lot of teams and a lot of sports. So it'd be interesting to expand in that regard. But we're all going to find out together through the rest of the decade. Um, what I also want to discover together, Jacob,
All
which
right.
may not be related to this particular topic, but we're going to go there anyway, is Jake, what is or what has been your favorite piece of hockey memorabilia? Not necessarily international related, not necessarily home team related, but just of all time, which is or which are your favorite pieces of hockey memorabilia?
I'm gonna go with uh, two hockey cards and then a framed piece. The first two were hockey cards I got autographed when I was 11-ish. I was neighbors with a kid who played with a rival club team of mine when we were growing up, and he was on a team with the Blues trainer's son. So one game we got to go to a Blues versus I want to say Islanders, but it might have also been Edmonton. I know it was a circle. It was a circle logo with orange
And
and
blue?
blue in it. Yeah, so it was one of those two. Um, and we got to go to the game, and then afterwards we went down to the players' exit, and we got two autographs, and or we got autographs, and I got so like the whole 2 3 weeks beforehand, I asked all my friends who are hockey players or had hockey cards. I was like, if you want anything signed, just let me know and I'll try to get them signed and everything, blah, blah, blah. So I ended up with probably 20, 25 cards in my hand with, and maybe like a hat or two uh, that I was trying to get autographed as these players were walking out of the locker room. And my two favorite ones that I kept was one was a Corey Stillman rookie card, not necessarily a popular or well known player, but he made in the places he played, he made a decent living. I think he got two cups, one with Carolina, one with Tampa. Um, but that's one of my favorite cards. And then Pavel, I have an autographed Pavel Dimitra card, which I think is super cool because he was always one of those players that I really liked, and he kind of jumped around. And then of course, when the tragedy of Lokomotiv, I think that definitely raised a lot of opinions about him. And then my third piece is probably the favorite one I have. It is an autographed Wayne Gretzky or Sporting News magazine, and the feature story is "The Great One Says Goodbye." So it's an autographed magazine of Wayne Gretzky when he retired, and he's wearing the Rangers blue and white.
I remember being really excited when I went to the card store and the guy had some leftover stock from years from the recent past of the time, and I opened it up and there it was, a pre-rookie Corey Stillman card.
Wow, who did you
Yeah, minor
who?
league hockey card. I think I sent it over to Puck Daddy. I'll have to ask him. Um, I've met I've met hockey players. I've never well, I guess my two best anecdotes would be right after Zdeno Chara was drafted by the Islanders. I was like 8 or 9 or so, and I was at the rink that the Islanders practiced at, and I believe still practice at today, which is in Syosset, like 45 minutes east of me in Great Neck. Um,
Okay.
well, what do big prospects do when they get drafted? They start practicing. They come over and they start practicing at the practice facility. So, um, my hockey camp, was in the same rink, and so we both did on ice and off ice training. And I snuck off and away from the pack during the off ice session to watch the Dano Chara skate. And because I was a prick when I was little, I put on my Rangers jersey. I went up to the stands. I put on my Rangers jersey and hat, and I said all the meanest, booingest things I can think of and
I'm,
until one of the counselors came and got me and said, "What the fuck are you doing?" And it gets better. So we finished with our off ice training, and he is finishing whatever drills he was doing with the coaches. And I'm no longer in my Ranger stuff. I put on my Great Neck Bruins stuff, which is my local hockey team.
okay.
Um, and I continued to haze him. Basically, I stood at the other end of the rink, and I just said the same shit all over again. And I did this. Probably not all that long, but it felt like a long time that I was getting away with. Until he turns around, he stops hard, turns around, and he looks at me, and he's giving me that death stare. He just points at me. He looks over at his coach, and he points me off the rink. He just says, "Out, out," and I got kicked off the ice by Zdeno Chara.
we, so you were yelling at him while you were both on the ice?
Yeah.
That
How
is
did?
awesome. That
Thank
is
you,
so
thank you.
cool.
Yeah, it pays to be a prick when you can get away with it.
That's like the ultimate show of fandom. It's just heckling the crap out of this no-name player when you're 8 years old, and he ends up being like a great defenseman, but you still just
Yeah.
the fact that 8-year-old is hazing the what was he, probably 20 at the time. That is awesome. That is so cool.
Oh, thank you. At some time later, my memories from childhood are blend a bit together, but I think it was a couple years later. I was at the same hockey camp, and I met two prominent Rangers prospects at the time, the Ferraro brothers, Chris and Peter,
Okay,
and so I was on my best behavior,
right.
and
Naturally,
I
because
got to
they were Ranger players.
yeah, exactly. And I got to meet them and hang out with them, and I went and I did some of their drills with them. I don't know. I never found out why they were at the Islanders practice facility, but it doesn't matter. I got to skate with them, probably not all that long, but again, it felt like forever.
Hmm.
And they signed my report card, and they tried giving me all the best advice that they could give me, and they were real sweethearts, man. It was a great memory. But in terms of memorabilia, because I don't know what happens to those report cards. I obviously didn't get anything from Chara. I do
Right.
have two pieces of memorabilia that I am particularly proud of, and I'm proud of them sort of in the same way I'm proud of the two anecdotes that I shared with you because I went out and created it. And before I tell you that, I got Paul Martin's status up here. The source is from the Pittsburgh Tribune,
All right.
but it's from December 16th. Fractured tibia, but is in a walking boot, isn't expected to return until at least mid-January.
Mid-January. And he fractures tibia?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's kind of what Stamkos did, only not as bad.
Yeah, so he's out. He's very much up in the air. Paul Martin. He's 32. We know, he has his name on the cup a few times. We know what kind of player he is. So if he's healthy and he has and his mind and his body can keep up with the play, he'll be in Sochi. If not, he's going to get replaced. And I don't believe that he's going to recover sufficiently. But we'll see. In any event,
Yeah.
so getting back to the memorabilia. So after the lockout, the Rangers said, if you come and wait on this line, the first however many thousand people will be able to purchase tickets to the Rangers' triumphant return. And so I did. Um,
And this is the '04 lockout or 2011 lockout?
'04. Thank you for
Okay.
clarifying. Now, and I'm gonna have to post pictures of this, but for anyone who hasn't seen the pictures yet, I put Yager's hockey hair to shame.
It's a massive hockey flow.
Oh my
It's like
God.
Weird Al flow.
It's Weird Al mixed with some Scott Hartnell before Scott Hartnell and some post rookie Yager flow. Um,
Yep.
oh, it is. And so I got my tickets, and as a treat, well, while you were waiting online, we were greeted by the top Rangers prospects at the time, and none of them turned into anything. Not even Hugh Jessman, who I met. Uh, which is fine. It was still a nice gesture. It was cool to be able to chat with guys who were playing in Hartford,
Mhm.
and really be able to chat with them because we weren't going very far very fast. But at the end, as you're exiting, in what we'll call the MSG atrium, uh, that leads back into the streets of Manhattan, right over Penn Station. Raj Bear is hanging out in front of his banner, and you can take pictures or get an autograph with him if you'd like. And of course, I'm gonna max this out. So, I was deciding whether or not to wait on the line, and I did.
Yeah,
But I
I'm sure
got,
this is gonna end up being a good choice.
yeah, and he picked me out in front of two other people. He says, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! I've got to talk to you." Because of the hockey hair. And I'm sitting there and I'm in my Rangers blue Messier jersey, which is a hand me down. I really wish I knew what happened to it. Um, and he starts asking me about my hair, how long, how much longer I'm going to keep it, and how long it took me to grow it, and why I did it, and um, I got to take a picture and have a full conversation with Rod Gilbert. And then
That's awesome.
yeah, and he signed it, Raj Gilbert 7. He just kept complimenting me on my hair and um, telling me how cool it was, but I asked him a couple of questions, like he wore number 7, and during the mid 20th century, number 7 in New York sports, and mid to late chunk of the 20th century, number 7 was a big number. I mean, in New York sports, and I know seven's a big number in the first place, but
Mhm.
he wore it, Mickey Mantle wore it, later on Boomer Esiason wore it, and he told me that first off, being a Ranger, being loved as he's been is the honor of his life. But just ever so slightly second to that, he on occasion got to go out with Mickey Mantle, and he says to himself, "Look at me, I'm just some Canadian kid, and I get to go out and spend time with Mickey Mantle. How cool is this?" And he starts reciting to me stuff about Mickey Mantle that you would recite if you're a Yankees fan or if you're just a Mickey Mantle fan. And it was just, and I'm wearing a Yankee hat at the time. So it was a really cool moment that we both shared a fanboy moment because my father's a big Mickey Mantle fan, and like I know all that there is to know about Mickey Mantle. Um, and it was really cool to be sitting with a Rangers legend, a sports legend, a non-baseball sports legend, both being fanboys about Mickey Mantle. It was really flipping cool. The other memorabilia, and I'll make this actually anecdote sized. During club hockey, during Christmas or at the end of the season, we would go out to Pennsauken or Philadelphia, Pennsauken, New Jersey, or across the river, Philadelphia. And one year, I just so happened to bump in Gordie Howe, who was staying at the same hotel. And I was a meek little kid at the time because it's Gordie Howe, and I don't want him to kick my ass. And I'm wearing my custom White Rangers jersey. It says Riegler 11 on the back. Um, and I say to him, "Mr. Howe, will you please sign my jersey?" He goes, "What? You want me to sign that?" And I said, "Well, you could sign my Yankee hat instead." And he says, "I don't want to sign a baseball hat. Baseball is for wussies." And I said, "I don't have a pen." He says, "You asked me for an autograph and you don't have a pen, kid? What's?" And like I must have given him like the sad puppy dog face because he goes, "Whoa, whoa, I'm just kidding." He goes over to the front desk because we're in the lobby. He gets a Sharpie and he says, "Kid, what's your name?" And Matt. And he says, "Take off your jersey and hold the shoulder tight." and I'm holding the shoulder tight where the letter would go, the A or the C, and and I'm trying to hold it tight, but I'm really nervous. And he says, "Tighter, come on, kid. What are you, some kind of wuss? Hold it." And I stretch it as tight as I can, and he writes, "Hi Matt, good luck, Gordie Howe."
That might be one of the most unorthodox autographs I've ever heard of.
And it's hanging in my closet, and I just look back and I say, "Oh my God, I met Gordie Howe, and I was a tiny, tiny, tiny 12-year-old."
And I just still think it's hilarious you got Gordie Howe to sign a Rangers jersey.
Yeah.
That's just ridiculous. And you really can't say no to a 12-year-old kid who just wants his autograph, but you're trying so hard to get it, and yet you have absolutely nothing to do.
And I think he was partially flattered that he was recognized at all, particularly in on the East Coast, where his face probably isn't on the forefront of people's minds. And I don't know why he was there, but I assume people don't go to Philadelphia by accident. So maybe he has family, or maybe he was seeing his son while maybe Mark Howe is still working for the Flyers, and he's going to be
Maybe.
whatever the reason is. But I have a lot of autographs. I was fortunate to be gifted a lot of really cool autographs: Adam Graves, Henrik Lundqvist, Nolan Ryan. But those two, because I went out and got them. So, Jake,
Yes.
we've been talking about so much real hockey, but I don't know if you grew up playing video games like I do. I have a special fondness for the fantasy world. Do you want to talk
Uh,
about the IceHL? Jake,
yes.
please tell us, which team are you in the IceHL powered by Aesthetics.info?
Nice plug there. No, I am the Montreal Olympiques. I am the general manager and owner of the team.
How did you get into our illustrious league, my good friend?
Well, when the 2011 lockout happened, Chris at Aesthetics decided that it'd be awesome to do an AHL, IceHL, if you will, where GMs would pick 6 AHL players, and you set your lineup once a week, essentially. And then all this, we just did goals, assists, and then wins. Or was it wins and losses, or was it goals against average and save percentage for goaltenders?
I do not recall. I chose my team based solely off of the Hartford Wolfpack, and then Hurricane Sandy occurred shortly thereafter, and I never looked at it again.
Okay,
Sorry.
no, that's fine. Um, so I don't remember what all the stats we kept were, but I know that there was no more than 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Um, So I was the AGM of the Baltimore Blue Crabs as of week 3, and we ended up finishing with an 8-2 record, I want to say, or something like that. And I did pretty well for the for the Blue Crabs, which was awesome. And I finished second in the league in the East. And then so Chris said if there was any open spots in the off season, he expected 1 or 2. I would be the second in line, and I waited all the way up until probably 2 weeks before. It's probably mid-August is when I got the go ahead and was told that if I wanted it, I could be the Montreal Olympiques owner and GM, and I was all for it. So this is my first season in the league.
How you doing in the league, buddy?
I am 6-4, I want to say.
7-5.
Nope, 7-5. I knew I was
Close.
positive 2 up. And in the shortened week with only 4 weeks, which is a side note I want to make. I absolutely love how the NHL did not play any games from December 24th to December 26th. I think that's very cool.
Why? Why is that an important distinction to you?
I think it's cool because the NHL gives that time for the players to be home with their families during the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we talked about it a little bit earlier. Whereas I went to my mom's, or I had my mom's side over for Christmas Eve, and then we went over to my dad's side of the family for Christmas Day. So I just think it's cool how the NHL gives players times to be with their family, or if they can't, if they live in like Europe and they can't go to a family, they can go with a teammate's family or something like that. Um,
I I agree. It's very humane.
yes, yes. But going back to the IceHL, um, I am up 7 points on the Hitman, and I believe you are looking up at me. Am I not correct?
Yeah, I just you know how you come out of some drafts and you think, oh, so many mistakes, and there are other drafts where you think, oh my God, this couldn't have gone better. This was one of
Yep.
those years where I said, oh my God, this couldn't have gone better,
And
and it hasn't quite worked out. It's been an annoying season because I have sorry, a lot of guys have been underperforming.
okay.
Um, and it's just like, well, I can start this off by talking about the pre-draft trade that we made. So I sent you Joe Pavelski for the 87th overall pick, which
Yes.
was in the second or third round. I'm going to estimate off the top of my head. And I drafted Alex Edler with it. And Alex Edler, I thought, was primed for his a career season. He's roughly a half point a player a game in real life. He blocks a lot of shots, and those are the two things we want our defensemen to do in the IceHL.
Yep.
In 27 games, he has 9 points. And
And is
only
on IR right now.
Oh god, I hadn't even gotten to that yet. And he's blocking plenty of shots. And he's been on IR since the first week of December, and he's out indefinitely. There's been no status update since. And buddy, what has Joe Pavelski done so far this year?
Well, Joe Pavelski, I believe, is averaging 4.8 points, 4.9 points per outing. He currently has 15 goals and 18 assists in 37 games. So that is just under a point per game. And I he is a staple in my lineup right now and is most likely going to be my number two forward keeper at the end of the season.
You're
So
welcome.
yes, I was very happy with that trade. Um, that was the thing I kind of and if we want to go back to the draft, in my version of the draft, I was flying by the seat of my pants. I had sort of done some pre-draft research, but the majority of it was me looking at who was available and then scrambling to look at either ESPN's, TSN's, or CBS Sports top 300 players and figuring out where they were on that general aspect and then drafting that way. And also looking at projected stats and seeing kind of going from that. And it's fairly worked out pretty good on my forwards and my defensemen. I have been playing well, I was playing the Roto, and now I think I've got my 4-5D pretty set.
I started off 0-2, and then I won 5, and now I've won 1 of the last 4. So I'm 6-6, and I know how good my team is. And
Yep.
it's just it's frustrating when one of your best goal scorers gets traded to Buffalo.
Yes, yes, that's very, very unfortunate.
It's um draft recap. One second, I'm pulling up my original team. All right, so here it is. So my by team, not round. Minnesota Mammoths is my team. Okay, so my 4 keepers were I only had 3. Jonathan Taves, Johnny
Yep,
Quick, and PK Subban. All quite logical. And then
yep.
uh,
Who'd you draft early?
my first 3 picks,
It's
all in
probably
the
Ben.
first round. Oh, sorry, the first 2 in the first round. No,
Yeah, yeah, because when you had three keepers, you got to draft your fourth player before everybody before the first round, and because you won, you got the first overall pick as well. Uh,
yep.
Well, which is technically the fifth round.
Well, it's technically the 4th round. So,
Well,
all
and
right.
you
So,
started off
so
the fifth.
everything that you just said is correct,
Okay.
but with one technicality. In the IceHL, we are allowed up to 4 keepers, and the way we seed ourselves, if we don't trade any picks, no one trades any picks, the way we are seeded is best to worst.
Right.
Now, I am the 2013 defending IceHL East champion, motherfuckers.
Only because I wasn't in the league yet.
Challenge accepted.
Yep.
I only kept 3 guys, Taves, Quick, and Subban, and so I had the first pick in the 4th round. I chose to keep Matty Molson. I chose to select, rather, because I had traded him away in 13, Matt Molson. And then in the start of the 5th round, which is the first round post-keeper round,
Right.
I was going to select Tyler Seguin, and in the 4th round, another team that kept only 3 guys chose him, wise guy. The Detroit Chargers. Mike Kelly, you know who you are.
Yep. And he is. That's the team I'm facing this week.
Ah, well, you don't need
Interesting
much.
sign up.
Yeah, you don't need much luck with him. He's
Uh-huh.
I chose Jamie Benn and then Bobby Ryan with the 1st overall pick and then the 5th overall pick of that particular round, and then I chose Bobby Ryan 4 picks later. So my first 3 draft selections were Molson, Ben, and Ryan. And I forgot
Decently solid.
decently solid. I forgot what my original point was, but um, I guess what I'm getting at is, you can never really win a draft in the beginning. You can only kind of lose it. And with my trio, at one point I had a trio of picks at the 95th, 6th, and 7th pick in a row, and then later I had the 101st. And so
Yep.
my 96th and 7th picks have been were Edler and Callahan. Callahan? Callahan. Ryan Callahan. And they're just, Callahan, I knew the risks with Callahan. He was coming in with a lot of injuries. He was going to miss the beginning part of the season, but I'm a Rangers fan. Callahan's one of my boys, so I accepted that. But Edler, despite averaging 4.1 points a game in which he's played so far this year, that's not the production I was anticipating. I was anticipating Brent Seabrook type production. Brent Seabrook right now is one of the Norris candidates. He's got 3 goals, 23 assists, 67 blocks. He's averaging 4.7 a night.
Which is a solid for a defenseman.
And
solid.
not that 4.1 is bad. It's just it's a holdup. It's a holdup when he's also a guy you should be able to count on for some scoring.
Right.
And when you later draft, chew up a whole slot for Josh Georges, when I could have drafted, I think at that time Torrey Krug was still on the board.
Probably because he's a Calder favorite right now.
And Mark Giordano was definitely still on the board. I'm looking at it right now. I drafted Georges at 160. Giordano went at 171. Anyway, it's a blown opportunity and it's frustrating.
Yeah.
And so my first overall fucking pick gets traded to away from John Tavares and into Buffalo. It's like the worst kind of combination
that you could ever do.
Yeah, and it's been frustrating.
Yeah. I mean, my frustration also came from a draft of not picking defensemen. I've only have 2 of my 5 drafted defensemen, and one of them is Cam Fowler, who I believe I selected pretty much last. I believe it was pretty late in the draft when I decided to take Cam Fowler. So that if I could do the draft all over again, I would probably not. I would probably draft. I would not draft Jacob Voracek, who I traded away within the first week and is now, I believe, on waivers or not producing much at all. And I would have picked up a defenseman like Drew Doughty because I believe he was still on the board when I picked Voracek, or I don't even know, just a solid defenseman.
Cam Fowler, you drafted in the 3rd to last round. I guess that's the 13th since we owe 16 picks.
Yep.
Oh, well, no, that's the 14th round. You drafted him at 201, and Quebec Armada 10 picks earlier took Torrey Krug.
Okay, yeah. So I could have picked Torrey Krug in any time before I picked Fowler, and would have had bless me, just as good as a pick. I probably I could have both of them. Could have Fowler and Krug.
And it's frustrating, but sir, you are still 7-5.
Yeah,
How
I
do
can't
you
really
do
complain
your
about
voodoo?
it. My voodoo has come in the form of blocked shots by my defenseman, and stellar goaltending of taking a gamble on on trading for Yaroslav Halak 2 days before the draft.
Wait, and can you tell me about what your goalie dynamic was when you originally acquired the Montreal Olympics? Like you had some other guy in there, and
I had Pekka Rinne and Devin Dubnyk were my or no, it wasn't Dubnyk. It was Pavlik, I believe. It was some Albertan. No, that's in Manitoba, so never mind. It was some Canadian goaltender that was in the Western Division Conference.
yeah, and gosh, and you were pretty set rather on keeping Rene, weren't you originally?
I was pretty set on keeping Rinne because he's always been a solid goaltender. I had him in my fantasy hockey league that I did with guys from back home the year before, and he was a solid uh, pick. And I thought that he was going to have not a bounce back year, but I thought that he was going to have a stronger year than he had the year before.
Which is a really strange thought because he had had hip surgery and his team had gotten worse. But
Kind of. I still thought Nashville was going to be they were going to be around the 5 spot for the uh, for the Central Division. I thought that the addition of Seth Jones was really going to help. Uh, what is it going to help? What's his face, Rene? Because they might not have been they might not be offensively minded, but they are definitely a defensive team. They definitely have better star-studded defense, and Rene normally doesn't let in that many pucks. And my problem was that I was thinking too much on the defensive aspect of goaltenders, and until you
whether or not
pointed
the
it
guy
out,
will just get the W.
yeah, exactly. And rather than you pointed out the offensive aspects of the goaltender and the team that he plays for.
So on the 12th anniversary of 9/11, I probably didn't need to phrase it that way. You traded the 119th and the 151st overall pick for the 140th pick and your hometown favorite, Yasser Park.
Yes, because I figured he was going to get the starting position over Brian Elliott, and I
Boy, big
was
leap in
excited.
logic there.
What?
Big leap in logic there.
Yeah, it was. They were pretty much 1A. They were pretty much 1A and 1B, but you always had Halak, who, what is it? He was injured right before the playoffs, and then came back 2 games before, and then got pissed at Hitch because Hitch wanted to start Elliott in the playoffs and not
Yeah.
Halak, and it was, uh, and so it was very bad that you didn't know if Halak was going to get the starting position or not because of his relationship with Hitch, and just because Elliott had been the playoffs, has been more stable in the playoffs than Halak has, and ultimately that's what the Blues are trying to aim to, is a steady long run in the playoffs.
Well, you know what? An interesting topic that I really want to talk about. And we'll take it for. Well, let's just do it for what it's worth. I want to talk about dirty hits in the NHL.
Okay.
Um, I'm going to start with Hurdle. Um, I'm probably just going to go from Hurdle to Thornton, and a bit more of a straight line than perhaps that sentence suggested.
Okay.
Um, are you prepared to talk about dirty hits in the NHL?
I think I will be. I don't know the hurdle uh injury. I haven't seen that one yet. The knee injury to keep out of the Sochi Olympics, which sucks for him.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I don't know if I've seen the injury.
All right. Well, if you want, just expand it out to general NHL type controversy. Um, so it doesn't have to be particularly pertain to hits. It could just be controversy.
All right.
All right. So Jake, this isn't the greatest of transitions, but we're going to anyway.
All right.
NHL controversies and or dirty hits. Now, there are two things, and I'm really passionate about this. There are two things that the NHL does that I abhor, and it is the stomping out of personalities, and we can think of
Yes.
poster boy type moments over the last few years, and I do think it's a coincidence that they're Eastern European guys. The hurdle move that sent Marty Biron into retirement.
That was just awesome. That was
It,
an unbelievable move, and I absolutely love it.
yeah, and as a Rangers fan, I loved it. And then the general stomping out of Yakupov and Ovechkin's personalities. I hate, I abhor, I just it upsets me the talking out of both sides of your mouth nature that the both the media and I know I'm painting with a broad brush here, but the media and the fans alike, they demand that on 24/7 we want all access. We want to know what Coach Babcock says when, even though he threw the camera out of the locker room. We want to know what is being said by and to Dion Phaneuf during his conference call with the Department of Player Safety. I want these people to just be themselves, whether it's milk toast or eccentric or otherwise, whatever the fuck it is. Let them be who they are and let us celebrate it. Even the stuff with Ilya Brizgalov, I thought got way overblown. So let me get this straight: an eccentric guy puts shit in perspective when he's struggling. That on the scale of the universe, he's less than an ant's ass, and that's how he gets over his recent failures. Or a 18-year-old kid who's been in the States for all of 30 seconds has the guts late in an 8-2 game to pull the Marek Malik move. Like, this is so interesting and so entertaining from the because you get a clear vision, even if it's just for that particular moment or instance, into what these guys are like between the years, and that's what I want to know about. I don't want to see the guys who have nothing to say. I don't want to see the Crosbys and the Jeters if they have nothing to share. If they really have nothing to share, fine. I don't care. But if somebody does have something to share, let's find out what it is that they have to share. Let them be themselves. Even if it's the hot stick move, even if it's going nutty behind the net or skating out to center ice after you tie the game with a millisecond left or you win it in OT, you're supposed to be excited when you do those things. You're supposed to lose it a little when you come through in the clutch.
Yeah, I definitely think that we've talked about this before, a little bit, but I definitely think that it's hockey is a game of emotion, and you can see it in this guy's name is Yane McConan. I don't know if you've ever seen any of his videos, but he's this YouTube guy that puts together these really, really, really well done hockey videos. And my personal favorite is Dare to Dream, which is the hype for the 2012 playoffs, and it's got the instrumentals from "Bird in the Worm" by the Used, and it has another song that I don't know what it is. But anyway,
Link me.
yeah, definitely. It shows the emotion in hockey, and it is unbelievable how great there. I think it's when I say it's like the 2 minute mark. It's it's just this stream of 25 seconds of all it is just people celebrating goals and like fans and cheering and all this stuff, and it's super super cool. And I definitely think that that's what the NHL is missing is guys that bring that hype in and day out. And they're those players, but they just don't. The NHL doesn't do a good job of capturing it. And we've talked about it in 24/7. We definitely 24/7 is losing its appeal. It's becoming less and less candid and more calculated by the players and by their coaches as to what they're willing and not willing for America to see. Like we talked about it in the most recent episode, the best moment of the entire season was when Abdelkader and Brendan Smith were driving and the dude spun out in front of them because it was something that was improv and it wasn't expected, but
Yeah.
yet, and you got a real human reaction from those players.
Yeah.
But you're not going to see that. All the rest of the interviews, it's guys being asked questions and they're thinking about what they're saying. And even when Nazim Kadri had his phone call with his dad, you could tell that in the back of his mind, he knew that the cameras were there and he kind of had to watch what he said and had to make sure that what his dad said didn't give away too much information. It's the same reason why we weren't able to see the Dion Phaneuf instance because the NHL doesn't want that kind of information being let loose for not necessarily the fans to have, but for the media to have and for them to give their right and wrong. And when
This is a great
Babcock and Randy
video, by the
Carlisle,
way.
what?
This is a fantastic video.
Yeah, you got to listen to it with the music too, if you're not already.
I'm
Uh,
not.
okay, well, watch it again when you have the music, because the music adds a complete different
Another element.
element. Yes, thank you. That's what I was looking for. A complete other element to it. But going back to Babcock and Carlisle, you don't get to see them rant. You're not going to see Bruce Boudreau saying 12 fucks in a minute and a half because coaches aren't going to allow the fans to see them in that light because it's all about the image they portray and the image that they portray within the uh, the image of the club that they represent. And I actually think that's a totally not right thing to do because I mean, me and you,
Yeah, it's
we grew
fake.
up, we grew up in the locker room, and we know that
Yeah,
we know
exactly.
that we know what locker room talk is. And let's be honest, 90% of the people who are watching watching 24/7 has a vested interest in hockey and probably know what it is like to be in a locker room to begin with. So for
Yeah.
them to toss the cameras out because they don't want to see them angry, that's just I don't think that's right because we all know what coaches are like when they're angry and it gives such another aspect and it's a much more personal moment and I definitely think that's something that fans should be able to see and that's what they want to see and HBO and specifically the NHL in general is doing a misjustice to its fans by not letting it happen.
Couldn't agree more. And even worse than when your coach is upset is when your teammates give you that look of disappointment or frustration, or when they give you that look of hope, or when they pat you on the back and they say, that was a great shift, even though we
Mm-hmm.
just gave up a goal. And you've got your head down because you got pulled off the ice after you gave up a goal. Your head is down, and your boy pats you on the shoulder, and he says, "We couldn't have done anything better. That was a good shift. Let's go tie it up on the next one."
Mm-hmm.
That it's it's the difference between the real human emotion and the portrayed emotion.
Yes.
It's the difference between having been there and experiencing it through a screen. We want if we're going to bother to be inside, we might as well bother to be unfiltered. And
Mm-hmm.
and this is the way 24/7 was portrayed to us in the first place, is that it was going to be unfiltered all access. And while we know that's sort of like saying freedom of speech is in our Constitution, that there are going to be some limitations. There shouldn't be limitations on their emotions. There shouldn't be limitations on their reactions in the moment, or their post game revisions, or their post game um, reviews of how they reacted at the time versus how they wish they had reacted.
Yeah. I definitely agree to that because one of my favorite hockey moments actually happened my senior year of high school when there was like 5 minutes left in this game, and we're playing in an outdoor rink, and it's like negative degrees outside. So it was cold as balls as we were playing. So it's about 5 minutes left in the game. It's tied 2-2, and I poke the puck into the net. I'm on
Ooh.
the backdoor side, and the puck is just laying on the goal line, like, and the goaltender thinks he's got it or he thinks it's on the other side. I can't really remember, but I poke it in, throw the hands up, turn around, start celebrating with my teammates, and I hear the whistle, and then I look over the ref, and it's no goal. He's waving it off. And the ref had been missing calls all game, and it also was the second time in the season that something like that had happened. So I go over to the ref, and I start yelling at him, and I say, "You need to open your goddamn eyes and make the fucking right call." And he didn't take lightly to that, and so he threw me in the box for 2 minutes.
Mhm.
And then right after I get out of the box, I hop over to the bench, and the opponent, one guy releases off the weak side. He gets a lead pass, catches it, goes in on our goalie 1-0. The goalie comes out and tries to stab the puck at it and misses, and the guy just walks right in.
Mm.
And so now it's like a minute and a half left in the game. We lose the draw in the offensive corner. The puck goes into the corner. I go in there and I dig the puck free, and then I pass it I cycle it back down to our guy, and then he hits our defenseman on the top left side if you're facing out of the zone, or so he's the right defenseman. And I immediately go straight to the front of the net and park my ass in front of the net. The guy rips a slap shot that comes up about rib cage high. No, not that high, probably about waist high. And I just stick my stick out. It hits my stick, goes back right hand corner to tie the game at 3-3, and with 1 minute and 30 left, and I got my goal that was taken away from me. And I think that is my favorite moment, because I don't think I've ever been happier to score a goal and give a big fuck you to the ref than doing that. And I think one of the real reasons why is because I had the real emotion of having that goal taken away, and then having even more emotion and pretty much pure joy that I scored a goal to tie the game up against a team that I absolutely hated playing against.
No
And
doubt.
that's one of those great moments that you always remember, mostly because you remember how you felt about the event more so than the event itself.
Yeah, I had a similar thing happen to me in one of the local street hockey leagues. I guess 2 summers ago now. It was a game where neither team was disciplined, and so the referees were very sensitive towards any infringement. So they were calling penalties left and right, but they also missed 2 goals. They had one goal that rattled, and I had the perfect view for this. I had one goal that rattled post to post. Oh, it bounced over the goal line and then back into the goalie. And the ref wasn't in position to see that. All he saw was post goalie. I was behind the net, and this would have been a goal for us. So we lost one on a crazy bounce, but and then later we got a goal against us that went in through the side of the net, and so it was just one of those games where it feels like Murphy's Law in action, and so. But the way that it ended was really sweet. So it's we're killing a penalty in OT, so it's 3-on-4. And if I'm going to compare my playing type, is that I'm more of a Carl Hagelin. Now I would love to be Mike Richards or Ryan Callahan, but I'm
Mhm.
really more of a Carl Hagelin type. So um, I the it was 3-on-3. Um, to the top of the circle, and then they had a rover at the blue line. And they had patterned already a catch between the guy on my left. I was the top of the triangle. The guy on my left to the point man, and I let it get to the point man, and then I rushed him, and I got right in the lane, and he tried to just quickly throw it at the net and went off my shins, and I was off to the races. I am gone, dude. Like
Mhm.
Usain Bolt. And I'm coming down. I'm a lefty coming down on the left wing, and we need this game to secure a playoff slot. And
Oh wow.
um, I took one hard stick handle and one hard step into the middle after I got to the circle. And the goalie totally bought it, and he totally overreacted. And I brought it back, and I shot it short side, and I fit it through the part between the post and his foot, like there was just enough room in that spot to get it in there. And I scored a breakaway shorthanded OT goal, and
Oh
it was
Jesus.
it was jubilation, playoff clinching goal, and it was jubilation everywhere. But before I went and turned to my teammates, I made sure the referee knew the puck was in. I was like, "You see it? You see it?" And he says, "Goal!" And I said, "Yeah!" And my boys met me at center ice, and one of the smaller guys jumped on me like he was Brad Marchand to my Zdeno Chara, and it was jubilation everywhere. Wow, it was so satisfying.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Those I never had. Well, from what I can remember, I can never had an overtime winning goal. Um, um, the best I can do is so when an interesting fact about myself is that I
Wait, that's a perfect way to set up anything. Oh, an interesting fact about myself.
well, an interesting fact about my playing days, if you will, is that I played 2 years at my high school, and then um, I got cut from my high school program because I was too old to be on the C team and I wasn't good enough to be on the B team. So I got cut, and then I entered the draft that the St. Louis High School Hockey League has because an, a a large amount of the hockey players go to private high schools. And then so the public schools will sometimes struggle to get enough players. So myself and another one of the guys that got cut from my high school's program went to play for another public school. Um, and so because I didn't play for my high school, which was a very big hockey school and a big event, it was basically the second biggest sport at the school was hockey.
I'm so
Whereas
happy to hear that as a sentence somewhere in the Middle West of America. Hockey is the second biggest sport in our school.
yeah, it was
Oh,
the big events in the fall um, are football, and the big event during winter is hockey. Like during the state semifinal game that my high school team went to my senior year, we had, I believe, 2,000 people in a rink watching this high school hockey game.
I should have gone to your high school.
It was, and the best part about it was is the team. So it's weird. We do 2 game series for all the playoffs except for the state final. It's a single game. But the first game, the team we were playing against brought a Confederate flag.
What?
Yeah, they brought it because they're a bunch of rednecks, and that's just what they do out in St. Charles. Um,
Okay, sure.
so
You're
our
not well above the Mason-Dixon line or anything.
no, so our third, um, so our theme for the second game was USA. So what do we all do? We all rock out in USA gear, and if you had a flag, you brought an American flag. And
Mhm.
so our student section looked like a soccer match with how many American flags we had and how many flags we were waving and how many USA chants we started. Like it was awesome. In high school, I never played in front of a big crowd. So one of the coolest memories is I played with this kid who used to play in the British Columbian Hockey League and is now playing for University of Vermont.
Woo!
Um, yeah, so we were in a tournament of the four, like there are four Parkway schools that had a team, and I was on one of them, and so we all do a tournament, and we were in the championship game, and this kid already had a hat trick, and we were tied 3-3 in overtime, and he got a fourth goal, and I think I was the first one over the bench after we won because I was one of the first ones to see it go in, and so that was cool seeing a good amount of people there. There's probably, I don't know, 500 people there, but it was so cool to see 500 people cheering on our team while we're skating around with our trophy. So that was kind of cool. That was the best big moment I had when I was playing.
Alrighty. Well, any departing words?
Um, let's go Blues.
You know what? Let's go every team that wears blue.
Okay, I can settle with that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Except for the Islanders.
I don't really care.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of something clever to say. It's not coming to me. So, folks, I'm just going to say, let's go Blues, let's go Rangers, let's go hockey, and have a healthy New Year.
Yep.
Goodbye.
Deuces.
Alright, big thanks are needed to Asking Alexandria for their song Moving On in the outro. Support the official release at AskingAlexandria.com. Thanks to my boy and co-producer Jason Kuang for his help. Find him at JK All The Way on Twitter with a 3 for the E. And finally, but not least, many thanks to Scott Wazalewski, Jeff Merrick, and Greg Puck Daddy Wyszynski for their encouragement to finally do this goddamn podcast.